Ladies and gentlemen, Proxy Table Gaming, Hyper G, back once again for more Saurian Ancient action, and I'm privileged to be joined by Tommy T for a second time in 3 days of recording. I'm just can't believe it, Tommy. You've joined me again. It's a privilege. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me back, Steph. Yeah, it's great fun to be here. And hello, all you PTG fanboys out there.
Yeah.
Hope you're enjoying the Saurian Ancient hype and build-up. I am. I'm absolutely loving it. I nearly said a naughty word there, Steph, but I managed to stop it just at the last moment.
Well done. I'm about to change all the settings on YouTube if you've made that mistake.
Damnation.
So, there you go. So, now we're at the stage that the wonderful public and Ninth Age World has seen the full book, has listened to all the videos out there, probably is on their 7th or 8th list creation already by now. And there's a great possibility that no one's even going to bother to listen to this video because they're just too busy reading the book and writing lists now. But nonetheless, I thought, well, let's just have another chat with Tommy T, shall we? And see where we go from there. I think, Tommy, because we're kind of treating this as a bit of a fanboy extra, we should get cracking with looking at the Magna Sauria section. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a very cool part of the book, obviously. It's quite short as well. There's only, 4 unit entries?
Yeah, assuming we don't include the mount choices which add to it, and we're not going to talk about those, at least not specifically until afterwards, because maybe we'll have a little chat about other things in general afterwards. But yeah, let's talk about Magna Sauria as the section, and it is 35% maximum points, which is a nice, hard to remember 1575 of your normal 4,500 point list. I reckon that most players are probably going to be close to filling that allowance. I mean, what do you think, first of all, to that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
A lot of
unless you're going max cloud, then I think you're going to be including as many big stompy monsters as you can. And let's just say there are the biggest and stompiest monsters in this section. So yeah,
there certainly are. Yeah, speaking of probably one of the least stompy, first of all, is the Stygiosaur pack. And in the book review that I did with Lucky Sixes, one of my big gripes was that my one Stygiosaur model can no longer be fielded until he gets a twin to go with him. But instead of single Stygiosaurs, now then we've got Stygiosaur pack, which is quite a change for that unit, really. I mean, we used to get a single Stygiosaur for 285 points. Now we're starting with 2 Stygiosaurs for 325. So that is quite a doubling effect for a lot less points overall. And not to mention that, but you also can add extra models to the unit, because it is a unit now, for only 110 for extra models. I mean, that's incredibly cheap. Even if you half the 325 for the 2 to begin with, it's still a cheap additional price. And for a maximum of 4 models in a unit. And what is crazy to me is that, I said this in the book review, is that most of the units in the book have a 0 to 2 cap. And yet Stygiosaurs are on a 0 to 3 cap. I mean, that's just balmy, considering you could have 3 units of 4. Well, I don't think you'd be able to... I think you probably could afford it, actually.
Yeah, it's about 1,500-ish points, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be able to have any of the extra fancy bits on the side, but, well, go for it if you want that. They come complete with the same global stat line, so 7, 14, 6, absolutely fine. Obviously, Communal Bond now replaces Cold-Blooded. They've maintained Fear. They have lost Terror, and they have lost Towering Presence because they are now a unit instead of a single model. But they have gained quite significantly Pack Hunter, so they can reroll their charges if they're doing a combined charge. And they've gained Scoring, and I think that one is probably a discussion point me and you will have in a second, just on its own, really. In terms of the defensive stat line, you've got HP 4 instead of 5, so we've lost 1, but that's probably going to have to happen because of the fact that it's a pack now instead of single models. But defensively, still 4, res still 5, armor. It used to be a straight number. Now it's armor 2 plus light armor and shield, effectively the same thing. And the other stats are exactly the same, apart from the Skink Rider and the Stygiasaur have traded an agility. So Skink Rider gone down 1, Stygiasaur gone up 1, which I guess is a bit weird, but that's fine. That's the way they're going.
That's definitely a buff, though, right? Because the Stygiasaur is the damage dealer part.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And in terms of the offensive extra rules, it has lost its toxic breath weapon, which I think is a bit of a shame. But it has gained predator senses for a potential reroll to hit, and everything else is still there, apart from losing Born Predator, and you haven't even replaced it with Lodestone in this case. So, like I did with the other review with you, Tommy, I'm going to pause there before we talk about Champion, etc. Thoughts on the stat block and the rules that come with it?
Yeah, well, I guess the biggest thing to say is the scoring. Like, that's huge. Now we've got access to a large cavalry unit that's relatively fast for this army anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just going to be really difficult for people to shift 4 of these models standing on an objective. And they put out a lot of damage. Yeah, I mean it's really good. Obviously, the big change for this unit is losing the wizard upgrade.
Sure.
Which gave you access to. Was it Mystic Traveller? It was called, I think?
Yep, Mystic Traveller for 130
gave you access to some really good spells.
Yeah, in Shaman mostly. Plus the hereditary it had, But it's a bit weird losing that, considering Wizard Enclave is everywhere, and that it's been taken away from this unit. But
it is weird, but I think it's much better the way that they've done it. In the magic is now spread out across the whole army, but not in this unit, and this unit is more of an out-and-out combat one.
Sure.
So yeah, I much prefer the way they've done this.
Good.
It's also just going to be way tougher to kill, because obviously it's more wounds in a unit as opposed to a single model.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with 8 HP instead of 5, and then it goes up and falls every time. And 3 up armor on a Res 5 model is not too shabby at all.
No, it's not. I think you're going to see a lot of these, at least to start with, and this is probably my favourite unit in the whole book at the moment, having obviously not played any games with it or anything like that. But yeah, we'll talk about this later on, hopefully, in our potential army list discussion.
Sure, absolutely. So going to the bottom of the unit, the Champion Standard Bearer, I mean, it feels kind of weird having that on a Skink Rider, but, because it's a unit now, I guess they decided, why not have those options? And the banner enhancement, I mean, that's also kind of a little bit odd, but, I mean, I guess we're talking, Strider banner, we're talking movement banner, potentially.
AP banner, movement banner,
Yeah, all the usuals, really. So it's a nice little bit of little utility for an extra choice with this. So are you thinking then, based on what you've said, I'm kind of almost putting words in your mouth, but you're thinking that they're going to be taken as units of 4 rather than as units of 2?
Yeah, I think so, just because the extra models are so cheap, and also it just does so much. I think you're definitely going to take a champion just for the min 4 on charges.
Sure.
Yeah, and probably a banner. Yeah, as you say, movement banner would be the most obvious one. So they can get around and do scoring stuff and kill things.
Yeah, the other option, which I'd come up with and probably will talk about in my list thoughts later, is putting on the banner, the Koru Stone, or whatever it is, to increase the... I forget what it's called. Increase the... is it the commanding presence of the unit?
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
Can't remember the wording. The bearer's unit... Oh, no, sorry. It's not commanding presence. The bearer's unit gains rally around the flag, whose range is set to 8 inches. I thought that was a good one for them.
That would be good for them, because that would affect themselves, wouldn't it?
Well, exactly.
Obviously they're going to be probably outside of other units' range. So getting to re-roll that minimised discipline 6 would be really handy.
Yeah, and potentially on a 4 models wide unit base, or even or 2x2.
Huge footprint.
Exactly, that was my thinking. Anyway,
combination of poison and predator senses is really good, because you get to re-roll those attacks against someone.
Yeah,
more poisons. And yeah, anyway, oh god, I really want to ramble about this, but yeah, let's move on.
All right, good idea, good idea. Because we will come back to it, no doubt, later in further discussions. So we'll move on to Carnosaur, and I mean, you know, this was a rejoicing moment in our full book review because me and Lucky Sixes just love the fact that this is in the main book now, as opposed to just a baby Carnosaur on a character. Are you similarly rejoiceful about this?
Definitely. It's so cool that you can just have these as units running around now instead of having to come out of your character cap.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a really good job of making this playable, but not so horribly ridiculous that you're going to see them in every single list.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think you would see them in every list, except for the fact that you just can't afford to put everything in your list. So you know you've got to drop some things.
True. Unless we start playing 10,000 point games, Steph.
Well, indeed.
And everyone runs out of models.
It's been done. Believe me.
By you guys.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. In terms of you know the stat line and everything, it's got the same movement stat line. There wasn't a price for it before because it was just well, I suppose there was a price for it, but it was as a mount, so it's a little bit hard to really translate. Because I mean, for a Saurian veteran, it was only 190 points. For a Saurian warlord, it was only 175. But I think really those points don't translate very well because now it is just a non-mount option. So I don't think we really can see much in the points value increasing so much. But yeah, in terms of the stat line, 714 is the same. Discipline 7 is actually quite respectable, you know, across the line. Obviously, there are ways to make that Discipline 7 part of a compound unit because it can combine strength with Raptor Riders and Raptor Pack, which is insanely good and insanely intriguing. I kind of skipped a bit of the usual number crunching there. HP wise, it's actually gained 1 from the previous Baby Carnosaur, which was only HP 4, which is awesome. And armor, obviously, it was a character mount, so having an armor 3 is actually also very respectable for a standalone model. And the actual stat line of the monster, the beastie itself, has gone up from attacks 4 to 5. So, you know, hurrah for that. And its agility has gone up to 3. So you're actually seeing a few monsters, if you can call them that, with agility increases in this section, which is cool. And in terms of the extra rules that it's gained, it still has Frenzy and Fearless and Fear. And does it have Fear? Oh, it does have Fear because it's gigantic. Or Terror, or whatever. And with the Rider on Lodestone is an interesting one as well. So I mean, those 2 extra attacks might be fairly useful because you're probably going against fairly armoured stuff anyway, with the Carnosaur being AP3. And the Carnosaur having Battle Focus as usual is cool. Multiple Wounds 2. I mean, previously it was only Multiple Wounds 2 against large. Now it's against standard as well. So characters beware. And even more so with Predator senses, you could potentially be re-rolling your hits, which arguably is the hardest part for the Carnosaur. So yeah, I'll pause there to let you give your opinions on the top half of the unit.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's really great. Obviously, it's not. It's only Res 5, so probably not going to last forever. The Tegu Rider's fairly bodge basic, but yeah, the Predator Senses and Battle Focus pairs really well. So you're just going to get more Battle Focus. Yeah, you get multiple points too against standard and large, which I guess. Yeah, I suppose that's pretty good. There's more. I guess there's more large than there is gigantic, but
yeah,
I don't think I'm going to struggle against gigantic playing with this book. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And for the extra options, I mean, Hunt Leader with Raptor Riders and Raptor Pack, I can see that being done quite often, even if you don't always join them together, because it can stand alone if you want it to. But with the Hunt Leader part, the unit that it's with gains Frenzy and Fearless, and the Raptors themselves gain Battle Focus, which is pretty nifty. Obviously, you've got the weapon options for the Tegu Rider. But yeah, happy enough with that Hunt Leader?
Yeah, I think Hunt Leader is a really good upgrade. I think you're definitely going to want to get... If you're thinking about taking a Carnosaur, you're probably going to take a unit of either the Raptor Riders or the Raptor Pack and slot him in there because it just does so much for the unit. And the Raptor Riders have a 2+ armor save, so you can still get the Carnosaurs shot by cannons and whatnot. But you, as I understand it, you can't. The enemy just can't put all their handgun or bow shots onto the Carnosaur. They have to distribute them out. So it's going to make him more survivable, give him ranks so that he can break steadfast and whatnot.
Yeah.
And also the battle focus on the Raptors is very good.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, look out for Carnosaurs in units of Raptor Riders or Raptor Pack.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just actually thinking, does he... Oh, he's already got battle focus anyway. He doesn't need to gain battle focus from Hunt Leader. He's already got it. I was thinking, does he give it to himself? But he's already got it. So ignore that part. I'll cut that out. No, I won't. Right, cool. Shall we move on to the next monster?
Yeah, this is probably the least changed, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's lost a few things, but it has got cheaper. So I guess we're not actually too concerned.
No.
And one of the things it's lost, which I don't think I actually mentioned in the book review, like you said, is it's lost Fearless. And I think that will be another thing to celebrate, because it means...
Yeah, that's really interesting. I did not see that stuff. So you can now flee with your Taurosaurs.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're getting charged with the Taurosaur, then if your Taurosaur is getting charged, then probably something bad has happened. Because, you're not making use of your Strength 6 impact hits.
True.
But at least you have the option of fleeing if it comes to it now, whereas before you just had to suck it up and take it. And that has happened to me on a number of occasions because I'm not very good. But, stat line, we're very similar to how we used to be. We have lost a discipline down to 6, but that's probably to be expected. The other thing is just the sharp horns being gone for re-rolling your impact hits, which I guess is a bit of a loss. But when you summarise it alongside the 3d3 impact hits instead of d6 plus 1, and the loss of the devastating charge, you're probably not too unhappy with its new form.
No, I think you'd much rather roll 3d3 than d6 plus 1 with the option to reroll.
Yeah.
Because obviously the bottom cap is just much higher. And you can take Howder devices, which we could bore on about for hours and hours. So I guess we might as well move on.
Yeah, we
probably
definitely
Taurosaur is still going to be a good army. Just a quick point, can I say, why are they called Taurosaurs? Why can we not have a unit called Triceratops? Come on, guys.
just keep it. Yeah,
that's what they should be called.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Taurosaurs are awesome, and you'll probably still see them on boards, and they do exactly the same thing as they always have done.
Yeah. I was actually just looking to see whether it was possible to field 3 Taurosaurs and a skink mounted on a Taurosaur for 4 Taurosaurs in an army, but that goes over the 15.75 cap, so that is not possible, unfortunately, because that would be done very quickly if it was allowed.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we have spent a long time skirting around this model. Let's get on to it, shall we? I don't even think I can really include all of it in the window. So to some extent, we're going to have to go down in a second. But yes, I mean Titanopod. I know you love this.
Yeah, this is cool, isn't it? It's such a different unit. We just don't. Yeah, again, they've really expanded the sort of bounds of what can be done. Yeah, the base of what can be done with a unit. I think I love it. It's really cool. I'm not sure how good it is, but I'm currently attempting to print one, and then I'm going to build it, paint it, and play it because it's just a really cool idea.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm not sure how good it is, but it's really cool.
Yeah, and I don't even know how they come out the 5-10 points, because how do you even value something like this? It's just impossible to value, surely. But yeah, I mean, it is one unit in the army, which I think everyone is absolutely fine with. But the base size, 100 by 200, that's a colossal.
Massive.
I don't think there is a bigger base size in the game. Full stop, is there?
No.
So, yeah. Some people may think that's, a sliding scale of badness, and did we want to go down that route of bigger bases? But, we'll have to wait and see to see if there's more models that come out in the future that mirror it, but I suspect possibly not. And this is kind of going to be fairly iconic, and stat line wise, obviously we've got no comparison to anything previous, but 414 is a weird one for the movement. And then, it's got Strider built in, which makes sense. It doesn't care anything for the terrain around it. HP 10 on a Res 6 model with 3-up armor again.
Yeah.
And,
it's going to be tough to kill.
Yeah, I mean, actually every single unit in this section is 3-up armor, which is insane. So that's not bad right from the off. You get your scaly skin right there. The Rock Releaser, which I think is a strange name for the things mounted on it. I don't really know the thoughts behind that, but I'm fine with it because it's just a kind of almost like co-starring Rock Releaser. And the Titanopod itself, well, it doesn't have many attacks, obviously, and it's got decent strength with a weird change in AP, only AP 2 from a strength 6, but whatever. And then the rules itself, stomp attacks 4d3, and it can stomp anything. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
What a unit, really.
Yeah, that's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
As long as you don't have towering presence, you can get stomped, yeah.
Yeah. Or, of course, you can change that into impact hits if you want the magic item.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that later, Steph.
And sure, that'll come up as one of your favourites, will it? Fair enough. And then the very Earth Trembles is just access to a musician with March to the Beat, which is fair enough. And then the Walking Mountain doesn't worry about flanks and rear. Nice. I mean...
Yeah, so this is weird, isn't it? Because you imagine if you're up against an army like dwarfs or something, where they don't have a lot of high strength combat attacks, you can just shove that into the middle of your opponent's army, and they're just not going to get that much static res against you, and you've got 43 stomps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it could be very tricky to deal with for some armies.
That's it. And then if they do charge you on all sides, then you just charge them on all sides afterwards.
Yeah, the counter charge. Yeah. 414. That's weird, isn't it? So it's going to march quite fast, but it's never going to make a charge.
Yeah, and it's never going to pursue if it does break things. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it can't pursue.
Yeah. Of course, one thing I did say in our full book review is the lack of stubborn on this unit or anything like that. So potentially, if you do manage to lose combat somehow, which obviously is a lot more quite difficult to do when you're stomping everything. But if you do lose combat, then potentially you could be running, which is a weird thought with something so big. But really cool.
But it is a beast, so you will be swift stride.
Indeed.
For what that's worth.
Yeah, indeed.
And you can take a Howder device, and again, we could go on about Howder devices all day, but I imagine the best one probably would be the BSB one.
Yes, because of the big
18-inch BSB.
On a huge base,
if you can kill that, then best of luck to you.
Definitely. And that would take it up to 600 points, but who cares, right?
Yeah, who cares? I love it. I think it's great.
Sweet.
Again, why? I don't understand the profile for the Rock Releaser, whatever that means.
No. I guess it's just...
But, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's fine. It's cool.
Yeah, indeed. So that concludes our kind of like initial thoughts on the Magna Sauria. It's nowhere near as long as the previous section. I mean, we had 5 units to discuss in core, and we lasted that an hour because of the various discussion points. We've gone through these relatively quickly, but that is because it's already been covered by another content provider. I forget which one it is, but I didn't we don't want to go over their ground. So check theirs out as well if you want more content on these units or their thoughts. But one thing that me and Tommy definitely wanted to move on to now was just talking about our own thoughts on list building, really. And we're not actually going to build a list in front of you or anything, but I am going to pose you a question right from the off, Tommy. Very much like if you're a football manager, there's always one name on your team sheet. Where do you start? What is a must-take right from the off? What are you going with?
Well, so with the old book, you would always say you'd probably either take the Coatl, or if you're not taking the Coatl, it's some other very powerful character. And I don't think you need to do that with this book. I mean, you obviously can take the Coatl, and if you're going to do that, you take a big block of Tegu Guards and push it forward. But you definitely don't have to. So I don't think that is a character anymore, which is weird. And I think they've done a great job with this book at making like not, you know, lists that don't heavily invest in characters are still going to be playable and good, I think, which is really cool because, you know, characters are probably a bit too strong, generally speaking, I think, in the game. So yeah, this book is a massive improvement on that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So what are you going with as your number one unit selection?
Well, for me, it's definitely going to be the Stygiasaur pack.
Okay, all right, fair
All
enough.
4 fully upgraded, movement
Right.
banner, and then I'm going to take a little skink hero with the Stampede Resonator crystal.
Okay,
And
okay.
he is going to run up behind them after they make a charge, and boom, you're going to take 43 impact hits.
Yeah, that's strength 5 AP2.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If I don't get a buff off, Staff, if I don't get a strength buff off, which I will have.
Yeah.
So you better stop that. Otherwise, it's strength 6.
Yeah, and with, like you say, movement 8 on the charge, potentially even movement 9 if you get a spell off. Or the previous turn. It would have to be the previous turn because obviously the Honoric Archmage has got one of the conjurations allows you to get an extra advance rate. So you potentially could be advance 9, which is an insane combination. But
so how about you, Steph? I've obviously massive fanboy of the Stygiasaur pack. What's your go-to unit that you're going to start the first one on your army list?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my first selection, weirdly, is probably the Carnosaur with the Raptors. It was definitely the one I went to first of all, because I wanted a compound unit so that I already didn't have to think about scoring for my discipline bubbles. Because I think the scoring, the commanding presence being on scoring is great, but you're going to take scoring anyway, 3 or 4, maybe 5 scoring units. I don't think many Saurian generals are going to have more than 4 scoring, funnily enough. I could be wrong. So I wanted an extra unit as my first choice as a compound unit. And I think the Carnosaur is just a lovely... Oh, let me scroll down to Carnosaur, so we're actually talking about the model. But I think the Carnosaur is just such an iconic thing to have. And I guess, really, in a way, it is because, being part of Proxy Table Gaming, I fully intend to make my single Stygiasaur proxy as a Carnosaur now, until I get a second Stygiasaur. Not that it obviously looks like a Carnosaur, because it's not quite as T-Rexy. You know, I have got Raptors, and I have got that model that I will use as a Carnosaur. And I love the compound unit element of it. Whether or not I go with core Raptor pack with it to accompany it, or whether I go full on Raptor Riders, that I'm still a bit unsure on, and I think I'll have to have a few playtests before I decide.
Yeah.
But definitely some form of protection for the Carnosaur. And this is, of course, not to say that the Carnosaur has to go in them, because you do that at the start of every battle. So, you know, maybe you're not even going to have to use them as a compound unit if you don't see the need at the start of the battle. But yeah, I think that one for me was probably my go-to to begin with.
Nice, yeah. No, I agree. That was something that definitely leapt out at me. I was going to lean probably more towards the Raptor Riders rather than the Raptor Pack.
Sure.
Just because I think you're going to easily fill up your core with cool core units. And I do like the Raptor Riders. I mean, I like the Raptor Riders in the old book.
Sure.
And these ones, in my opinion, are much better.
Let's have a little look at them, shall we, as we're mentioning them? Because that's not one that, other than the book review, Raptor Riders haven't been discussed in a great amount of detail, not by us anyway. And yeah, they are a little bit
280
more...
for 8 is so cheap, in my opinion.
Well, exactly. I mean, they used to be 245 for 5, I believe, from memory. Is that correct? Let me double check. Oh no, in fact it was 225 for 5. So yeah, you are paying a little bit more to begin with, but you do get 8 as a starting block, which Lucky Sixes did say he thought was a bit weird, getting 8. But yeah, you know, it's just a different shape for a unit now. But yeah, there is that. Cool. So I mean, bearing in mind that we know you've got your 4 Stygiasaur pack as your first choice in your list, Tommy. And we know that you're printing a Titanobrod, So does that mean then that already you're at 1,200 points of your Magna Sauria section?
Probably, yeah. But let's go back to core stuff. So
okay,
core has got some really awesome options. I'm probably going to try and go with the skink blender. So let's just talk about the skink blender. So this is a big brick of skink warriors with spears. Whack on a rending banner or a flame standard or something like that. Then you take a Thyroscutus and give it the Venomous Fortress upgrade.
Okay, so slow down while I just go to the Thyroscutus. So you've got a Thyroscutus in your Skink Warriors. And for the Howder device, you are taking a Venomous Fortress, Epilepsy Warning, as I go up and down the book.
So the Venomous Fortress gives them skink model parts in the unit, hatred and poison attacks in combat.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
And then I'm going to take a bunch of paired weapon veterans who are each going to have 4 attacks at strength 4. Obviously, they get the hatred and poison as well.
Yeah.
And that unit is just going to churn through, and it's all poison re-rolling, and it's all going to be AP as well because of the spears.
Nice. And so are you even thinking of going Master Strategist on one of the Skink Veterans while joined to a unit? I know, consisting entirely of Skink Warriors. So I know you can't do that because you've got a Thyroscutus.
They saw that, because of the Thyroscutus,
Fair enough.
So I think that the damage output from that is going to be absolutely horrible.
Okay, so one thing you could do to make them even nastier, I believe, or you might shout me down because you realise it's not possible, is are you adding any Kaimans in, or not bothering?
Well, I mean, you could do, but I'm not sure they benefit so much from the. Well, they obviously don't benefit from the poison and rerolls.
No, and obviously,
I mean, you could
put Kaiman models in. Potentially, you are reducing your skink attacks, aren't you?
Yeah.
But
I would suggest you probably go one or the other stuff, but I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Maybe you do. Just can you join multiple guests to one host unit?
I believe so. I didn't think that you couldn't.
Again, look, we're just learning on the job here, aren't we?
Well, absolutely, that is entirely the point. Maybe merge with a unit from one of the unit entries. No unit can be merged with more than one other unit.
Yeah.
There you go. That answers that. Fair enough then. I will already be rewriting one of the lists I've come up with. Because I won't lie, I have made many lists, and one of them was the Skink Blender. But I made an illegal combination and had Kaimans in with Thyroscutus and Skink Warriors. So immediately I'm going to be rewriting that list. So good to learn.
The other core potential is Tegu Warriors, take hand weapon and shield for some parry action, and then whack 3 Cayman Elders with great weapons in, and that is a brutal unit.
Oh yeah, okay. So let's talk about Cayman Elders, because they're another one that we've only had discussed on PTG in the full book review. One of their things is combined strength with Tegu Warriors. Like you say, that is a disgusting unit. I could not disagree to that statement.
Yeah, I think the Cayman Elder unit is another standout.
Yeah.
It seems quite cheap, 275 for 3 models, and then they've come with Weapon Master and Tooth and Claw, so then you can give them a great weapon for 7 points each.
Yeah.
They're only agility 1, so great weapon doesn't really, it's not much of a debuff, and then that makes them strength 7, AP 4.
Yeah, but obviously if you do set up your Tegu Warriors 8 wide, which obviously you lose your rank bonus, but so if you do that, then the Cayman Elders are attacking in rank 3 because of fighting extra rank. So, potentially you don't even have to
you get even more attacks,
Yeah. So quite an intimidating block of models there.
Yeah, very nasty. You can only take 3 models if you do the combined strength.
Oh, sure.
3 Cayman Elder models.
Good point.
But yeah, the Weapon Master and a great weapon just seems really good, because if you're fighting Vermin Swarm or something that, strength 5 is sufficient for, then you can go Tooth and Claw and get +1 to hit.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool.
And their agility, their discipline 7 as well, which is fairly good. 4 HP per model, which is really good. Bearing in mind you have access to druidism in the army.
Yeah, well, possibly even on their own unit because of some of growth being available. So, although of course, if you are using them as a combined unit, then you do lose your enclave.
You lose that,
So potentially don't kit them out with that if you're planning on combining units. But yeah. So
how about yourself, Steph? What are you thinking for core?
Well, for me, it's all about Tegu Warriors, if I'm being deadly serious, because they are my favourite core unit in the game, full stop. Although my Feral Orcs are giving them a good run for their money. I will have a unit of 35 Tegu Warriors in my first Saurian list that gets to the table. That is without doubt. And the rest of the list will be built around it. I guess, the fact that I said Carnosaur and Raptor, there will be one of them in it as well. But that was always with the intention of having 35 Tegu Warriors with spears. Yes, I've lost my totem animal now, but that will be there. And we'll see how we go with that. Yeah, it doesn't really leave you a lot of room left for core after you've taken that. But it probably will be, depending on whether I put Carnosaur with a Raptor pack or with Raptor Riders, will determine what else I've got in core. But I think some Skink Hunters, just to, fill out the numbers, will likely be there.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a very minimised Skink Warrior unit, just 20 of them for an extra scoring. Because scoring is not massively easy to get in this book, considering how many fun options you've got. Which obviously is slightly mitigated if you are taking a Stygiosaur pack, because they come with scoring as well. But what about what are you thinking for scoring? If you've got you said you've got either a Skink Warrior brick or a Tegu Warrior unit. Is there other scoring options that you're definitely considering?
As you mentioned, the Stygiosaur pack gives you a manoeuvrable, quite smashy scoring unit.
Yeah.
And then, I think as you say, either the core is going to be Tegu Warriors or Skinks to push up the middle, and then maybe a unit of the Cayman Warriors as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe points won't allow, or maybe Raptor Riders, with a Carnosaur in there.
Yeah.
To get 3 or 4 scoring. Yeah.
All right. So one thing
as you say, I don't think that we're going to be inundated with scoring units, but the ones that people do take are probably going to be fairly chunky.
Yeah. So before we end this video, because I know me and you, we could talk for hours. I would thoroughly enjoy every second of it. But I do want to sum up this video somewhat, so that it is a bit shorter than the others that have gone out this week. Because the amount of PTG videos that we're hoping you all watch all of them is a bit insane. So we won't push our luck too far. But one section I do want to discuss with you briefly, Tommy, because it hasn't really come up between us, is the Guerrilla Warriors section. Is it the unloved child now in a Saurian list, or do you think it will only be taken if you're maximising in it?
Well, no, I think it's really good. Obviously, Pterodon Riders are in there for your chaff. They're still excellent chaff. They're not quite as fast as they used to be, but they still do the same thing as they always used to. One interesting thing about them I really like is the marking bowlers upgrade. So that means that you can mark mark a unit as you chaff it, which is really good. And obviously that just pairs so well with a bunch of other units in the book that are going to get rerolls against that.
Yeah, or even if you fly over and sweeping attack them, because you can fly over, sweeping attack them, light troops, face them, shoot them, marking bowlers, done. And then they're still there to cause a problem later. So the utility of this is amazing.
There's similar points to how they used to be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure anyone's going to take the Champion Enclave Wizard upgrade.
It does seem a little bit expensive considering how easy it is to get elsewhere. But I guess they have made that expensive because it is 2 spells. So it's not just 1 spell with it. But on a HP 2 model, Res 3 with only a 4 up armor, even with hard target, it is a little bit squishy to take a very expensive champion. Although, as myself and Lucky 60 did point out, it does get an extra HP for having a champion with this one. So there is that.
Yeah, and the extra models are only 30 points, which is not a huge amount. But obviously, if you take a full-size unit with the champ upgrade, that's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
But that would be a nightmare for any enemy avoidance lists. Not that we really see them anymore, but
sure.
If someone wants to try and do that, you could counter them hard with some of that.
Yeah.
The weapon beasts, moving swiftly onto them,
Sure.
they do probably something similar to what they used to do. The salamanders no longer being a flamethrower weapon, but being a breath attack that you can use multiple times is probably a bit of a downgrade. But I think
and losing strength 4 as well.
Yeah. That we're probably still going to see them though in units of skink hunters floating around, breathing on stuff.
And
Spearback, the spearback upgrade. What do you think about that? I mean,
well,
you can't march and shoot with it, which just seems like a huge negative.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what do you mean by upgrade to that? I couldn't see a lot of upgrade actually.
Well, the two options for the weapon beasts.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't tend to use spearback as a shooting threat much. It was more of a mid to late game chap for me that did a few shots here and there. Making use of the AP2 where I could. But I'm more disappointed about the salamanders losing their strength 4, and also they're less range than they used to be. Because a breath weapon is only 6 inches. Whereas
true.
You used to have I think it was a 20-inch threat on a salamander, with a march of 12 and then an 8-inch range. Whereas this is, I know it's only 2 inches less, but considering you're only strength 3 AP 0 now, maybe it's a good candidate for. Well, I was going to say for Awaken the Beast, but actually breath attack wouldn't have its strength modified by that, so that's no good either.
No, unfortunately not.
Yeah, because that would be nice if it did work
like that.
It
is flaming though, so sometimes that'll be good and sometimes it'll be bad.
Yeah, I mean it'll still be an elf killer and a skeleton killer here and there, zombie killer maybe, but I don't think many people struggle with doing that generally. So, well, I suppose the elves might have upset a lot of elf players there, but hey, I don't mind. Cool, and then your gorillas, just quickly, before we go. I mean, there's a few options to take with them now, 2 different kinds of gorillas, but are we just going to see a couple of chameleon units here and there, and not a lot else, really?
Yeah, possibly. I did think about trying to get 2 times, or maybe more than 2 times, 15 with magnetic shortbows, because I really like the magnetic shortbow as a weapon. It's really good, I think.
Yeah, although you can only have 25 in the army, so.
Yeah, true. Especially if you pair it with the
skink weapon.
Combine it with the skink hero who can have, what's it called, alchemical arrows to make them strength 4.
Yeah, really cool.
That seems really good, but obviously the problem with that is that the footprint of a unit of 15 skinks who are all skirmishers is going to be enormous.
Absolutely, yeah, really.
So I think that's a bit of a problem for bigger units. So yeah, maybe we will just see units of 5 or 10 chameleons with blowpipes doing much the same as they've always done.
Yeah. Right, well, I am going to call an end to this wonderful discussion on list thoughts and ideas. I know I could talk for a lot longer, and I'm sure you could, Tommy.
Yeah, definitely. I could bore you to tears all night, Steph.
And we probably will after we've stopped recording. But, but what I'm going to do is we've deliberately missed this character section, because what I want to do is say out to those who are watching this, let us know in the comments what your character choices are from the early look of this book. Tommy, if you can be bothered to add a comment yourself to make your character thoughts, then go ahead and do so. But yeah, everyone else, if you can be bothered, put in the comments your character choices, or list ideas, what you're thinking. And also other sections if you want to put in the comments, things that we may not have discussed. Maybe there's some horribly disgusting choice that we've not even mentioned on any of our reviews that you want to bring to light. And yeah, just get involved in the discussion, because I think this is a really cool book with lots of options, and I think there's going to be so many lists being built, and I really don't think we're going to get a lot of samey lists. So, there you go. Any final thoughts, Tommy, before we sign off?
No, not really. Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. I hope that wasn't too painful to listen to. And I'll see you on the tabletop, and I'm going to smash you up with this new Saurian Ancient book.
Absolutely. After a bit of business at Cardiff is done.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Good stuff.
We'll say no more about that stuff.
All right. I won't wind you up. Cool. Thank you very much, listeners. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all the usual. And yeah, we'll see you again for probably a return to normal with Bat Reps for next week. See you soon, folks.